Hi everyone, Phil from Tech for Techs here. We're going to be looking at this from Gelid. It's a Sirocco CPU cooler. We're going to test it and find out how good it actually is. We do have links in the description below, so make sure you click on them for the cheapest prices available in your country. Okay, so we've got the Gelid Solutions Sirocco Extreme Performance RGB LED CPU cooler for Intel and AMD CPUs. Whew, that was a bit long-winded, but anyway, it's compatible with Intel sockets, so 775, 1366, all the 11 sockets, 2011. It doesn't mention 1200, but basics is if it works with 1151, it should work on the 1200, no problem, because it's practically the same. And compatible with AMD sockets, AMD 2, the 2 Plus, AM3, 3 Plus, AM4, FM1, FM2. So pretty much anything in the good last few years it should work with, no problem, with the exception of stuff like Threadripper, which well, very few people are going to have, but and you'll be wanting something a little bit more higher market than this to cool a Threadripper down. But let's have a quick look at the box. So you can see the fan there is lit up. It is RGB apparently. It doesn't say addressable RGB, so I'm guessing it's a standard 4-pin RGB connection. Technical specs on the left side. It's telling you it's 77.2 cubic feet per minute on the side. Bearing is double ball bearing. It's got DC voltage of 12, 4-pin header for the fan, and fan speed 750 to 1800. LED connector, 4-pin RGB header. So that basically answers that question. It is a RGB fan, not an RGB fan, which is addressable RGB. So it gives you a rough idea. So static pressure 3.39, 5-year warranty, weight is 750 grams. On the back tells you a bit about it and basically what sort of things it fits and so forth. And on the side shows you basically what the tower is, how the fan fits on it, and from there, so it gives you the basic information of what it is. So let's have a look what's inside the box. Okay, so let's go through what's inside the box. So you've got a bag of all your stuff like thermal paste, your fittings and so forth in there. We'll get it fitted in a few minutes. It's also got a few bits and bobs in there. In this bag here you've got instruction manual. Tells you how to set it up and different bits and bobs like that. Should be pretty simple though. As well as looks like an RGB power connector. Basically the fan is RGB, which means you can connect it up to a motherboard or a controller what's got RGB on it. Again, it's not addressable, it's standard 4-pin RGB, which means if you haven't got a board, normally you can't use the colouring on there. It still works, but it just doesn't light up. But basically what you do, if you haven't got a board or controller, you basically put this little pin thing into there, you hook up your RGB header on your fan to that, you hold that bit up to your SATA connection inside your computer, and then that will power the RGB lighting on there, and it gives you 3 little basic buttons so you can adjust the colouring on the fan, so you can have it all red, blue, green, have it changing colours and whatnot. But bear in mind this is going to be inside your case, so once you've set it and then you put the side on your case, you're not going to be able to change the colours unless you do connect it up to a motherboard which has got that header on it. But it's a nice option to give, especially if you're connecting it up to a board what doesn't give you that option, or an older PC or something like that. So that's good. These cables here, I've reviewed this fan separately before. I'm pretty sure it's the same fan. I think it's called the called the Radiant D. It looks very similar, it just doesn't have those grips in there. I'm guessing otherwise it's probably the same fan, but I may be wrong. sorry, not the Scorpio, the Sirocco. And you've got the information of the fan on the back, so I'll give you a closer look at that. So that's there. And as you can see, it's DC 12, 0.35 amp, 1800 RPM. So it's pretty straightforward. It does have rubber feet in the corner, which is anti-vibration, which is good. And this cable here, I'm pretty sure is going to be 50 centimeters. Yeah, and the same with the RGB cable. Yeah, they're both 50 centimeters long, so you've got enough cable length there to actually, well, put it wherever you want, so that's always good. You've got 4 mounting clips, where obviously there's only one fan, so you should only need 2, so it gives you the ability to add a second fan on if you ever wanted. It doesn't have to be RGB, could be RGB, could be different brand, it's up to you, but I usually suggest sticking with a similar type of fan, similar speed at least, so they complement each other rather than one working harder than the other. But to attach this to the fan, it's usually pretty straightforward. Or should I say, put the heatsink, you basically attach it like that, get the clip, put it over the hole, which is never straightforward, like that, and then you pull down, and then it clips in. There it should stay in. Come on. There we go. So it clips in like that, so that holds it in place. Okay, so you've got that there. Obviously you need to do it on the other side as well, and if you're putting a fan on the other side you need to do it there as well. But not the easiest things to clip on. I'm never a fan of those, in all honesty. But again, just to show you, you get your fan clip. One bit goes in the hole on one side of the fan, one in the other. See, just getting it in there is a pain, and then you pull back and it clips over and goes into this basically channel there, which holds the fans in place and solid. So let's have a bit of a look at the cooler now. Obviously the cables are attached to the fan, not the cooler. You've got the base. You can see it's a nice shiny base on there. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6 heat pipes, so all together those loop round. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because they connect in the middle underneath the base plate. And obviously those go all the way up to the top. You can see them there. And they go through the fins, which obviously helps dispel the heat. So it's pretty straightforward. You can see through there somewhat. You can probably just about see the fan on there and my hand through the other side. But it's basically silver all the way through, so I'm guessing it's some sort of copper-based. At least it says on the instructions it's copper-based. Copper's usually a slightly different colour than that, but it says it's an advanced copper-based heatsink, so we'll believe what it says. You've got the 6 U-stacked power heat pipes, soldered heat pipes and fins, shark tooth edge fins, smart high pressure RGB LED fan, enhanced mounting kit, high class nickel plating, so it is nickel. So I'm guessing underneath this nickel here, then you've got your copper, but again, hard to say without breaking it to pieces. And then you've got TDP of over 200 watts and a 5-year limited warranty on there. So gives you a rough idea. We're going to plug this in, get a bit of testing, see if it's any good. Okay, down to testing. In basics, all testing is done on the same machine, with the same version of Windows, with the same version of programs. We disable internet access, so no programs, updates or anything can be installed or updates what can affect any of the results. All background tasks which are non-essential get disabled, so again they will not affect the testing. The testing room has air conditioning / heaters built in to keep the temperature at 18.5 degrees Celsius. Also decibel levels are at a steady 45.6 decibels. When testing things like fans, we set the speeds at 50% and 100% and not auto, because obviously if you've got something set at auto, it will adjust the fan speed up and down to adjust the temperature to the optimal temperature, so it can affect results. So we set the fan speeds at set speeds like 50% and 100%. All testing is done on a 10700K i7 processor, 16 gig of RAM, as well as a 5CUDA SSD, and the same motherboard, and all the other components are the same for every single test. Full specifications are in the description. Okay, in this first test we're checking the idle temperature in Celsius at 50% fan speed. So the fan is running at 50% of its speed. The machine is just loaded into Windows, not running any programs or anything at all. You can see the Sirocco got 19 degrees Celsius, so that's pretty good compared to the others. But saying that, it's all within roughly 1 and 2 degrees Celsius difference, with the exception of the Tranquillo 4. On to the next test, we are actually checking basically the same thing again, but this time with this processor running flat out. So it's running at 100% usage all the way through for 30 minutes, and we get the average temperature. You can see the Sirocco got 62 degrees here, compared to things like, for example, the eSports Duo, which got 61. It was only 1 degree behind that, and which is basically a dual fan cooler. So it performed pretty well, in all honesty. On this next test, we do the same test yet again, but we stick the fan on 100%. The Intel stock cooler managed to actually run this time. The Tranquillo 4 did as well, but again, they are running extremely hot. The Sirocco, though, is still running pretty cool at 59 degrees Celsius. It's only a few degrees behind some of the bigger names on the market, like the Arctic Freezer 50. So it's performing very well, all considering. On this next test coming up, we have got overclocking. We've overclocked the processor to 5.1 gigahertz to make it run hotter. The Intel stock cooler and the Tranquillo 4 were not able to even post a result. They would just crash because they've got too hot. Sirocco got 77 degrees, which is still pretty hot, but it was not that far behind, again, the Arctic Freezer 50 and the eSports Duo. So it performed pretty well, in all honesty, for what it is. On the next test, we check the decibel levels. That's basically how loud the fan is, running with 50% fan speed. And you can see there, pretty much most of the tests were all roughly, again, within 1 or 2 decibels, roughly the same. The Sirocco managed to get middle of the table with 50 decibels, so it's neither really loud, but it's neither really quiet. But to be honest with you, it's probably going to be pretty much inaudible if you've got it in a case with all your other fans. On the next test, we do the same test again, but with the fans running at flat out 100%. So to see what it would sound like in worst case scenario. And here it comes out at 59 decibels, which is actually one of the cooler, or should I say the quieter ones out there. Was quieter than the Arctic Freezer 50, definitely quieter than the Intel stock cooler. So again, performed pretty well, and it wasn't too noisy at all. So in conclusion, you have a cooler which is roughly around about 38 euros, which is pretty good price. We've got links in the description below if you want to click on those. They should take you to the best price available if it is available in your country. Fitting the device was fairly easy. I must admit, though, the instruction manual was slightly faded, so you may struggle, but if you do have that issue, you can download the instructions or view the instructions on their website, so there isn't too much of an issue there as long as you've got a working smart device or other PC laptop. If you attach the fan to the slap bang centre of the cooler, obviously on the front side of it, you may struggle to get your RAM underneath it due to limitations with height. But saying that, because of the way it's designed, you can actually move the fan up slightly, so it will accommodate more or larger memory modules. Our memory modules were roughly 40mm high and didn't have an issue once we moved the fan up a couple of millimeters. The lighting effects on the fan were pretty standard for an RGB fan, but bear in mind this is RGB, not a RGB or addressable or digital RGB. So this will have to plug into a standard RGB header on your motherboard, which is usually 4 pins, not the one what's got 4 pins but one missing in the middle. That's addressable. So make sure you have got the right connector on your motherboard. It doesn't come with a controller either, so you won't be able to change colors or even put any colors on if your motherboard, or if you don't have a controller of any type, you can plug in the RGB header of the fan. Saying that, for €38 roughly, you've got yourself a decent cooler. It's not the biggest on the market, it's not the most shiny on the market, but for the price it performs pretty well. In all honesty, it's able to keep up with some of the big boys on the market, and it gives you that compatibility where it'll work on pretty much any type of processor on the market today. So on a final note, this is a pretty good heatsink and cooler for the price. Don't get me wrong, there are better ones on the market. They do have the Phantom Black version, which does perform a little bit better. It's got a couple of fans on there instead of the one, which may be an option for you to have a look at if you've got a few more pounds or euros to spend. But overall, I do recommend this product because it does perform well. It does what it's supposed to do. Isn't any real frills on there to get in the way. Hint, hint, Arctic in the Freezer 50, and so forth.